Hey guys, today's video is sponsored by Audible, and today they're giving away 1 free month linked in the description below. With Audible.com, you're able to stream thousands of different titles on the go whenever you want. Whether it be Star Wars, sci-fi, documentaries, horror, or something more informative, such as history. A lot of the Star Wars audiobooks are done really, really nicely. You get music, voice acting, sound effects, so when there are lightsabers swinging and there's a battle, let's say, you get to hear the whole thing actually happening. As I've said many times, it's like listening to a movie, just without the picture. So with today's 1 month free membership, I would like to recommend for you to pick up Heir to the Empire. With The Mandalorian Season 3 coming out and Ahsoka coming out, I think now is a great time for you to listen to one of the best Star Wars audiobooks to date. So with Heir to the Empire, especially with the Bad Batch coming out, there's this thing called Mount Tantiss. And I'm not going to get too into detail, but this is where Palpatine did a lot of his experiments. The Empire did a lot of their experiments. This is, 8 years after Return of the Jedi came out in theaters. So this is like ready to go, George Lucas era, perfect for you to start off this trilogy, which will get you into more of the Legends novels that you may be interested in. And of course, kind of help you understand to see maybe what is going to be added in Ahsoka with Thrawn coming in, or the Bad Batch, or what they may pick and choose from this really marvelous trilogy. Grab your free month right now, linked in the description, or text Star Wars Theory to 500, or go to audible.com/Star Wars Theory. That's audible.com/Star Wars Theory.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over something more so in person, just you and me, about Ahsoka fighting Anakin Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith. Now, if you haven't seen the previous leaks regarding the Ahsoka show, turn away now. If you don't mind to hear the leaks, then here we go. And you might have seen the previous video anyways. So the talk of the town are these leaks about the Ahsoka show, where she will go in the World Between Worlds. And if you didn't see Star Wars Rebels, the World Between Worlds is a place which, it's a mystical place, allows you to see portals of every moment in Star Wars, every pivotal moment in Star Wars. Whether that be the fight with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, or Anakin and Obi-Wan, or Palpatine and Yoda, or any other fight, really. It also shows you, apparently, moments in Star Wars that are branched off, like a what-if scenario. Like, what if this had happened? Would the outcome be different? Would the galaxy's fate be different? And this is something that I think is pretty neat to dive into, as we don't know much about the World Between Worlds. I myself am not a big fan of time travel in Star Wars, only in Back to the Future trilogy. But that being said, the fact that the leaks sort of tell you and explain to you that these aren't going to affect the timeline of Star Wars whatsoever, it's merely just Ahsoka kind of peering into specific what-if scenarios, like what if she had never left the Jedi Order, what if she fought Anakin and Mustafar, so on and so forth, what if she killed Thrawn, so on and so forth. And in the end, she sees her fate is always the same and never changes. It makes me wonder how epic this is going to be and how they're actually going to do this fight. Because frankly, if they do this where Ahsoka defeats Anakin on Mustafar, I'm going to be really turned off. I'm like, how is that even possible? Well, there's one way, and it's conflicted Anakin. The only way Anakin would ever lose to Ahsoka is if he either comes willingly or comes silently. She has a better way with words than Obi-Wan. And I think one of the main things that Obi-Wan missed out on was trying to talk to Anakin on Mustafar. There were a few moments where Anakin was opening up dialogue and he stopped fighting, and he was able to actually sort of put down his sword in a sense and speak to Obi-Wan. From my point of view, the Jedi are evil, blah, blah, blah. Obi-Wan, instead of inquiring a little bit more, says, well, then you are lost. It's just shutting it down. And then he says, only a Sith deals in absolutes. I will do what I must. It's like he was the one who ignited the blade first. He could have done so many different things to try and persuade Anakin or hear his point of view and not be so stonewalled with things. Now, mind you, Anakin did betray all the Jedi. He did slaughter the younglings in the temple. He did join Darth Sidious and join the dark side. So at this point, Obi-Wan had his duty. He had his orders from Yoda to do what he needed to do, just like Anakin did to save Padme. So okay. But I think the difference between Obi-Wan and Ahsoka in this case is that Ahsoka would be much more emotional with him, and she would be much more caring. She'd be pissed off for what he's done, but she wouldn't be able to believe it. And this was one of the things that I picked up in my interview with Ashley Eckstein, who was, as sweet as she was, in the interview. She was explaining how Ahsoka doesn't want to believe what she knows in her heart, that Anakin has turned, that Anakin is now Darth Vader and he's doing these horrible, horrible things during Order 66. And this was before Clone Wars Season 7 came out. And I think that that's going to probably play in this show with Ahsoka fighting Anakin on Mustafar, that she doesn't want to believe that he has done these things. And even though that she knows he has, she's going to try and persuade him still off the ledge of the dark side and say, why are you doing these things? There's still a way back. It's not too late. Just like Padme did. Before Obi-Wan showed up and made Anakin go crazy, she could maybe break through to him in a way that Obi-Wan never could and never tried in the end. Now, in the novel, I think it was Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader, Anakin, or Vader, is in the Jedi Temple and he's doing a mission for Palpatine. And he's going through things in his mind and remembering certain events from, you know, Revenge of the Sith, from his life when he was Anakin. And he was thinking, if only Obi-Wan hadn't shown up, that he would have actually left Mustafar and gone to Naboo with Padme. And he was sort of daydreaming and giving himself this like fan fiction. If Obi-Wan didn't show up, I might have gone. I might have gone with Padme. And I think if we take Obi-Wan Kenobi out of this situation, out of this equation, then Anakin would definitely have gone with Padme. If we take Obi-Wan out of this equation and Ahsoka is there, I think it's very possible that Anakin could lower his defenses a little bit, just enough for Ahsoka to kind of break through and explain to him, be like, look, what you're doing is insane. Like, this is not okay. It's not too late. And maybe Anakin would go with her back to the Jedi Temple and Yoda would be fighting Palpatine. And maybe Anakin would turn on Palpatine and fight him too. And it would be Ahsoka, Yoda, and Palpatine, and it would be game over. That would be pretty sweet. Or it could be like this, you know, where GuilleGFX has made this picture of Ahsoka and Anakin fighting. Now, I don't even think it would get there because I don't think Dave Filoni would even want fans to be concerned about Anakin and Ahsoka fighting, with Anakin killing her at this point in time. Vader fighting Ahsoka is totally different. It's a different story. But Anakin fighting Ahsoka in this moment is... I just don't think he'd want to go there. So I think her going to Mustafar won't even lead to a fight. I think, and I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, that's going to be pretty sweet. I think it's going to be more of a dialogue of her trying to explain things with Padme and being like, what are you doing? Don't do this, Master. You're better than this. This is not the way. This goes against the training. This goes against being a Jedi. Blah, 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 blah. It's not too late. And he would explain to her everything that he feels in this moment and how the Jedi betrayed him, for his mother, for Padme not listening to him, all this and that. And she would be able to really be one of the only people in his life that understands exactly what he's going through, because she wanted to leave the Jedi Order. And he convinced her that one time not to, in this fan fiction where she's going to see that what if she stayed at the Jedi Temple, which led her to this moment. Most likely, most like possible, unless she just goes here like on a whim. She's friends with Padme, still having left the Jedi Order. And now it's her turn to return the favor, and she's going to turn Anakin back from his moment of leaving the Jedi Order. Mind you, he's done a lot worse now than she did just by leaving. He'd like turned his whole back on the Jedi and slaughtered them all, betrayed them. But maybe this is her way of turning the tide. And we could see that, if only Ahsoka had stayed, if only Ahsoka had taken the place of Obi-Wan Kenobi in this moment, in the scene, then maybe she would have been the one that could actually bring him back to the light. So it's almost like he could break through to him. Qui-Gon could break through to him, you know, if he was really the father figure and had stayed alive and not died to Darth Maul. But Obi-Wan really wasn't. And I think it would all maybe come down to Obi-Wan, and we would kind of realize that really Obi-Wan kind of dropped the ball with Anakin, along with the other Jedi, right? You have to realize this guy grew up as a slave. He grew up in the harshest conditions, where attachments and greed, jealousy, anger were all things that were manifested in him for 9 years, and people don't really understand that. And he was taken to the Jedi Temple with all of these issues already cemented in his life. And so now he's thrust into this world where he has to forget everything that he has grown accustomed to for 9 years and fallen in love with, including his mother, who he's left on Tatooine as a slave, who's suffering still every day. And were it not for Obi-Wan Kenobi holding him back, which was explained in my latest video, he would have been there to save her. He thinks. Right? It's not about what's the truth, it's about what the person thinks in their head until they're proved otherwise. Like, hey, wake up, this is not really the case. So at the moment, he thinks that, you know, he has been done an injustice. And the Jedi Order ignored his pleas for help, ignored his nightmares and his premonitions. Remember in Revenge of the Sith? Premonitions! Premonitions! It's just like, yo, You gotta stop with this shit, Skywalker. You gotta stop with these premonitions. Do not mourn those who die. Do not mourn those who become one with the Force. Miss them, do not. Mourn them, do not. That's not what Anakin needed to hear. And I think Qui-Gon Jinn would have been the father figure and the mentor that he needed, because Qui-Gon was not so rigid like Mace Windu and Yoda was. And I think Ahsoka also is that friend figure that he needs, especially in this moment. Not so much Obi-Wan, who's very rigid and very, well, then you are lost. I will do what I must. Only a Sith deals in absolutes. You know? So I think this fight won't even be a fight. I think this will be a dialogue scene where Ahsoka will probably break through to Anakin, and then he'll be able to either come back with her or something. We'll see what happens. We'll see how far they want to take that fan fiction, but I'm pretty excited for it. I'm not a huge fan of time travel in Star Wars at all. I think it really undermines a lot of stories and moments, but in a situation like this, I think it would be pretty sweet as long as it doesn't affect the timeline or, you know, change anything whatsoever. It's just like a mere fan fiction of you know, the world between worlds, which allows for a lot of different possibilities. My next video will be if this world between worlds will be something that Ahsoka will look into regarding The Last Jedi, and if this will be Dave Filoni's possible way of showing us maybe a different outcome to the sequel trilogy. But more on that, I guess we'll see once the show is out, and we can all talk about it and have some fun. Let me know what you guys think about this. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you always.